Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Welcome. It is the RambleCast. This is November 1st, 2023. I'm Cody Toombs, and I am going solo today. At least that's kind of the plan. There's a possibility we'll have a unexpected guest dropping in a little later. We'll see what happens. So how's everybody doing out there? It has been kind of a week. Not a lot of a week, but sort of. There's been things happening here and there. I'm trying to think. What do I actually want to get started with? I think I'll actually start by saying something about the Pixel Watch, or rather less about the Pixel Watch, more about the bands. The active band that's included is really, really uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time. I mean, it's nice soft touch material, but man, it has zero airflow to it. So yeah, it's not at all breathable. Not that that's a surprise, just a thing. And as I'm saying that, it's reminding me that I want to plug mine in while I'm sitting here doing this. Can't believe Cody booked Tim Apple. Well, speaking of, we're in Apple Park, baby. No, we're not. That'd be kind of neat. I'd sort of like to be able to say that, but no. We're still in my office in Oregon. It is what it is. The stretch band is very good. I gotta say, I'm getting very, very close to ordering a different band. As much as I think their prices are not just outrageous, I think they're actually insulting. It very much, I've just come to terms with the fact that the Pixel Watch is already a fairly expensive Android Wear watch, but it's actually worse because it is basically designed to also make you have to pay for a different strap, for some sort of different strap. Because I mean, I get it. This active band would logically be the right choice if you're swimming, or I guess if you're gonna be doing workouts. In a way, I kind of don't like it for workouts because it is so non-breathable, but at the same time, like, I can't think of any band that I'd rather just be able to dip in water and, clean off and it's good to go. So, I get it. It is what it is. I kind of don't love that it's the band that they chose to include. Maybe they could have included one that was more of an all-day wear option as opposed to the one. And it's not that this one isn't. It's just not the best for it. Let's see. Link to Apple Park in Morehead City, North Carolina. Yikes. That's funny. New homes from 43,900. Oof. The ads. Here, let's pop that one into view. This is bottom of that page that you linked to. They've got ads here, and the very first one, new homes from the cost of a very slightly upscale car. Like, actually, that's like SUV pricing. When you see ads that are just inherently like cringy and obviously BS, yeah, not a great sign. Not like I have ever worked for someone who might show really cringy ads. Not at all. Anyway, so That said, Pixel Watch so far, opinions are, it's all right. I don't have anything against it, but I also am not, I feel like I'm not using it to extremes, but I have found, contrary to what some people say, I found yet again, I have no trouble with managing battery life. Admittedly, I do not have it set for always on screen. I don't need to. It's honestly, it pops on fairly often on its own. But yeah, I don't have it set to always on screen. I don't think I've ever worn this and had it below 50%. Because, and I'm wearing it all day. I'm using it all day. I just take it off either during a meal or during some time when I know I'm going to be sitting for like, 45 minutes to an hour. I'll take it off. I'll charge it. This is happening about once a day. I've never been under 50%. I'm using it for sleep tracking. I'm walking around with it. I'm doing whatever else with it. Yeah, so if, according to all estimates, it takes, or it's 1 full day of use with always on display and 2 full days supposedly with display just coming on when you need it. So logically, it should be possible to consistently get through a day the way I'm doing it and effectively always be wearing it. I mean, technically not always, but if you're taking it off while you eat a meal, I don't think the watch is really losing out on any important data there. I don't think anyone's really losing out on any important data there. So yeah, I'm just not seeing the problem. I get that people don't want to take it off, but at some point you have to. So yeah. And I just bring this up because it's the argument that has always driven me so insane about people saying, oh my God, if it doesn't last the full day, how am I supposed to use it for sleep tracking and workouts and everything else? Well, simple. You take it off for a short time, charge it, and you're done. And those same people argue that like they need to have a Fitbit or something, and it's like, you still have to take it off. How are you magically not taking your Fitbit off when you still have to take it off? Like, you still have to charge the damn thing. Anyway, so that's my micro rant about other people's rants. Anyway, before we get to the meaty bits of the week, I figured I would take a quick glance at a couple of other things that just amuse the absolute ever-loving crap out of me. One of them also serves as a bit of a PSA. But if anyone was paying attention, there was a bit of news this week about the LastPass breach that occurred last year. It's been, I believe, almost exactly a year. I might have that wrong. I don't remember the date on it. Anyway, whenever the LastPass breach was last year, it has had a number of side effects. The biggest among them now has been that a whole bunch of crypto wallets have been broken into. And very recently, on October 25th, $4.4 million worth of crypto was swiped out of somebody's wallet. This comes after, I believe, I could be wrong on this. I might have misread, but I think it was something like $35 million combined, or maybe it's 35 million throughout the last year or whatever, has been stolen because of this breach. According to the report by Brian Krebs on this research, Monahan and other researchers have generated a unique signature that links the theft of over $35 million to the same threat actors. So yeah, crypto going great, guys. Crypto's just a wonder in how well it has progressed, as everyone is losing all their money to a breach that has otherwise actually had surprisingly few results. Like, not much else has happened as a result of the LastPass breach that anyone knows of. But crypto wallets, holy crap, are they just... They are the natural victims for this stuff. That said, the fact that people are getting value out of LastPass, the stolen data, it's really a good reminder. Don't go without changing your passwords. Go through, change all your passwords. Anything that was in LastPass should be just different. I know that's not necessarily the easiest or shortest process, but go try to change your passwords. I'm not a big fan of the whole, like, oh, you got to change your password every, like, X number of months or whatever. No, you don't. You don't need to go through and change all your passwords all the time. But for anything that matters, you know, once in a while. For things, for any situation where there's a known breach and your passwords have been stolen, go through and change all of them. It sucks to do. It's so time consuming. I've done it. Well, I've done most of it. There's a bunch of old stuff that I just don't care about anymore. I don't really care if somebody has access to, like, an old forum that I was on years ago for a couple of things. But yeah, this is just a solid reminder. Awesome. Passkey, all the things. Oh god, no. Passkey still bothers me because there's an attack vector on Passkey that just bothers the crap out of me. If someone gets your token, you're done. Like, it's over. There is no two-factor about that. Austin, if you're sitting on millions of Bitcoin, you've already lost a lot of money. Yeah, no kidding. Though Bitcoin, I mean, it depends on when you bought in. Yes, it's dropped a lot, but it's still way up from where it was, what, 3 years ago? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, in no way, shape, or form am I ever going to start pushing for crypto investments, but I will say that the people who got in on the scam early are still rich. The people sitting bought in at 60K. I mean, yeah. They'll be sitting a while until they get their big payday that they know is coming. Anyway, so yeah, I thought that this was kind of just a funny, yet again, reminder that investing in crypto, probably not your healthiest choice. Moving on to other choices that were very much not healthy. This week's news also brought us the fun fact that Twitter is now worth well below what it was when Elon bought it a year ago. It does depend a little bit on who you're asking, but different people have come up with different estimates on what Twitter is worth. It came out a few days ago that one of the current investors is estimating that it is worth 65% of what Elon purchased it for, which is a pretty optimistic estimate in my opinion. Let's see who actually came out with this estimate. Oh, this is interesting because this is actually different than what I saw. Okay, so according to this, employees of the company X, you'll note how I'm not suggesting that Twitter itself gets to change its name. The company X basically started offering shares to its employees at a valuation of $45 per share, which works out to the company being worth $19 billion. Now, elsewhere, Some different math suggested that the valuation was actually working out to 20 billion. Really, you know, it's a 5% difference, but point is, it's not great. A company that loses over half its value in a year is generally thought of as kind of a failure. And that said, Elon is obviously trying to position this as, you know, kind of that we had to lose money in order to start making money again, sort of narrative. The problem is that doesn't really ring true here. So far, they are just losing money. They've positioned this as a quote-unquote inverse startup, where it's a company that is trying to rapidly change itself into something else. So far, it hasn't done any of these things. So far, their code changes have really just broken the existing service. There are actually a few articles floating around in the last couple of weeks that have focused on all the things that have broken at Twitter over the last year. And yeah, the signs are there. Like they're not moving that quickly. They're not really developing that much. Most of the changes that have come through, if you really think about it, are actually really slower than even what Twitter itself did before Elon. Which, considering they still have a fairly sizable cast of developers, I mean, it's certainly fewer than they used to have, but it's still a lot. And they're making surprisingly slow progress on a lot of the things that they say that they're trying to do. So, yeah, I'm not really seeing the positive side of this. Outside of the fact that the company probably won't be there in, I'm guessing, 3 years. Or Elon will quote unquote get bored of it and decide to sell it. We'll see what happens. Let's see. So Diablo had said, my password moving from LastPass was the to-do part of my last year in December, but glad to be out of there. Yeah, I left LastPass, or I stopped using LastPass. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's probably been about 3 years, I want to say. I moved a lot of my stuff over to another service, and yeah, the transition went really smoothly. It was more that I left a lot of stuff in LastPass just in case. My whole logic being, if for some reason something didn't transition over, I wanted to be able to go back and check it or find it in LastPass and make use of it there. And a few things actually didn't transition over, but it wasn't a big enough deal that it mattered. So yeah, I was pretty content just moving away. The unfortunate side is I know a lot of, or I'm assuming my data was also breached. I can't think of any reason it wouldn't have been. So yeah, I had to go through and change a lot of passwords. I know I haven't gotten through all of them, but I've gotten through, I think, anything that matters. So if anyone goes through and tries to do anything with any of the accounts that I still have signed in, or rather any of the accounts where I haven't changed passwords, they're going to get to some pretty low value stuff. Like I said, they'll get to forums. They'll get to, I don't know, like some old image sharing websites. They'll get to stuff nobody cares about. So we'll see. Anyway, yeah, so at this stage, I really truly wonder, like, what are the deals that some of the Twitter investors worked with Elon, and how many of them are going to start saying, look, you know, you borrowed from us, uh, it's time. The bill is due. You need to start paying back your loans, and fast. Do it now or lose. Because at this stage, Twitter's losing. I'm curious what the long term is here, but I just cannot see a future where it comes back. And that's kind of the issue here. It's not going to come back. Not unless some sort of magic happens, and there's no reason to think it will. The Saudis don't mess around. I mean, I wouldn't say that on stream, but yeah. I don't think I doubt he's got to worry about his legs getting broken or whatever else might happen. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the thing that really sinks him in the eyes of a lot of people. At least financially. He's sort of in almost that Trumpian level of you're about to watch a literal fortune die, and it's going to take a lot of people who think that he is some sort of business genius is really going to kill that perception. So yeah, that's an issue for him to deal with. Anyway, on to by the way, if anyone has any other topics you want to hit, feel free to drop them in chat somewhere. But I think we have to talk about, obviously, this week's main event, Apple. They have announced the new M3 in what was easily the shortest event Apple has held in forever. I honestly don't know how long it's been, but when it comes to events, Apple typically does not run anything less than an hour. This was 30 minutes. I'm not sure that it was 30 minutes exactly on the dot, but it was very, very, very close. And if it was actually under 30, or if it was anything, it was under 30 minutes. So yeah, that's not a lot of event for Apple, especially because they announced, yeah, it was scary fast, exactly. But not only was it a short event, it was actually an event where they announced a lot of product, technically. For the first time ever, they announced 3 chips all at once. I'm gonna quickly, I feel like I'm gonna have to say this a few times today, but I'm going to quickly call out. They announce it, to say it's the first time they've announced 3 chips at once is a lot less dramatic when you remember, oh yeah, they've only had 3 generations. This is the 3rd generation of their chips. No kidding. Like, it's not as special. Like, if they were on like their 10th generation or even 8th, hell, even let's negotiate down, even on their 5th generation, it would be a little more special. When it's like, oh yeah, well, we've only had a couple of data points in the past, it's not as special when you're claiming, oh, but we're announcing all 3 at once this time. Yeah, all right, cool, you're announcing all of them this time instead of dragging it out over the year. Good for you. Now, with that said, also, the word all has kind of been tossed around. They're not announcing all of their chips at once. They're announcing 3 out of 4 because the Ultra has not been mentioned, discussed at all. There's no hint of the Ultra anywhere in this presentation. And that's not a big deal. I mean, until they're announcing a new either Mac Studio or Mac Pro, we're not going to see an Ultra. That's okay. And I'm sure that they'll announce an Ultra at some point in the near future, or well, this coming year, let's say, either with a Mac Pro or Mac Studio update. and that's great. Oh, Diablo, believe me, you're hitting on one of the topics I very much want to slap them for. That accessory situation bugs me. Nevertheless, they are really good chips. I'm not going to go digging into the benchmarks or pull that up, but a quick look at the benchmarks. It appears that the M3 has significantly higher single-threaded performance than single-threaded performance on the M2 Max. And I know that's kind of a weird comparison to make, but according to a few people, it is actually a really big jump. And again, this is single-threaded performance. If you go to multi-threaded performance, well, the M2 Max has way more cores. So many more cores than an M3. And just in case my words aren't getting this point across, we're talking about a base model M3 versus the highest non-ultra chip from the previous generation. So, you know, for single-threaded performance to win out, that's not necessarily hugely surprising, but the better chips weren't just having more cores, they actually did have higher performance per core in each of these generations. So the fact that the M3 is stepping up by that much, it is significant, but not crazy. But again, you know, let's be honest. If you need multi-threaded performance, you still want to go to a Pro or a Max. You'll get so much more out of that. Let's see. Austin also saying, yeah, but their chips are a bit more modular than a typical x86. Yes. That's one of the things I really noticed about Apple's previous discussion about these chips. The latest announcement didn't really dive too deep into it, but they were talking about some of the technology that they built for these chips, and it was very striking that they had that the way that the chips are designed, they basically are bridging the cores to be, I don't want to say stackable, that's not the right word for it, but they basically are bridging the cores so that they can design the chips almost just by adding more cores. Just straight up, oh, how many cores do you want in this one? Cool, we'll just stack a crap load more and put in the bridging, and there you go. You now have a chip that is just that many more cores. And that is an oversimplification. It is definitely not as casually simple as that, but it's not as far off either. Let's see. Austin, Ultra equals 2 and 3 Max attached together. Yeah, that there's actually some truth in that. It is basically that. Anyway, so that being said, it is still a pretty big jump. They did a lot of performance improvement here. Apparently, some of the largest difference was made to the GPU. So, as a lot of people have been bringing up, obviously gaming has been a major topic on this. The Verge covered this in the context of exactly that. And we're talking, like they showed off the same sort of not quite real games that they've had as demos in the past. They talked up their ray tracing capabilities. They talked up, obviously, a lot of pro use cases, though I would argue there's not much in the pro market or pro space that you couldn't do really well with the existing, even M1s, but especially like at the M2s. And don't get me wrong, obviously there's still workloads that are pretty heavy for even those chips, but yeah, you know, this is one of those things where we're starting to cross that threshold where how do I want to explain or say this? There was always kind of a threshold as I was growing up where you would say, "Oh, here's a thing I want to do. I need to get a processor that can actually do this quickly, or like the more I spend on a processor, the faster I can do this thing." At a certain point, some tasks start falling off the list where you just say, "Oh, it doesn't matter what processor you have. You can just do this thing fine." Like, you go far enough back in history, there was a time when spreadsheets, you really needed to actually have like a fast processor to run a spreadsheet that had more than, like a page. At a certain point, that those days ended. Like, you can now no longer have a conversation about spreadsheets that ever involves what processor you're using. And through time, like, we've gotten more and more of that whole, the list of things where you needed a faster processor has just kept shrinking. And there was a time in history where if you were doing like audio editing, that was a pretty big deal. You actually needed to have a decent processor for this. Yeah, those days are gone. Now, if you're doing like major live processing, if you have a ton of MIDI inputs, if you have if you are doing like musical scoring with lots of instruments, you start getting back into that territory where you really do need a ton of performance. But this is a rarity. This is not a big part of most people's use cases anymore, unless you happen to work in the music, or, well, not even the music industry. If you work in the music industry, honestly, if you're doing like live recordings for a band, you still only have like 10, possibly as much as 12 input streams. That's not a big deal. Actually, no, that's not true. A band of, let's say, 5 people, singer, in all likelihood, you're going to have redundant mics on each instrument, probably single for the singer. So, you might be looking at 12 to 15. Yeah, it's still not that hard to imagine. Hey, how's it going, Metric Brawl? We are babbling about the Apple event because, of course, we are. How do we not? Anyway, these are the chips are definitely powerful. The thing at this stage, I would say, as powerful and performant as the M3 is, the big deal is the GPU. That's where this is really going to factor in the largest. Because at this stage, Apple is making a play to try to get game studios to take Apple's hardware seriously and to actually start distributing games to them. I made this argument in the past. I'll just say it again for the short version of this again for very, very simple terms. But you really need to, or all things considered, game studios are insane if they aren't publishing for Mac, because anyone who's buying a Mac is already buying a slightly more, or sometimes way more expensive computer, as Metric Brawl is pointing out, the $1,000 for 8 gigs RAM event. Yeah. And it's 8 gigs unified, so it's kind of not even the same 8 gigs. That by the way is the reminder I think a lot of people forget. Most computers that supposedly come with 8 gigs also separately have they have some sort of RAM for a GPU. It's not the same. They actually literally have more RAM. So yeah, those 8 gig Macs do not have as much RAM. Anyway, that's not important. But the thing is, game studios have kind of been leaving Apple alone. They're still not taking it as a particularly serious platform for distribution. And I think that's insane because, again, as Metric Roll points out, $1,000 for an 8 gig computer. People who buy Macs are spending more money. They're a group of people who, by and large, well, by large, they spend more money. They're a group of people who will actually pay for games. They're willing to. Many of them would be happy to. Why would you not want to target that group of buyers? I truly, genuinely cannot understand that logic. And, you know, make no mistake, I fully grant that there's... It would take a little bit of uptake time. There are customers, you know, getting the customers on board might not happen immediately with the very first game release you do. But if any company is smart enough to start publishing mainstream for Mac, I think they would make tons of bank doing it. Anyway, moving on. When we look at this, I also start asking the question why, and this is a bit of a sidetrack, but why is Apple not making a game console? Or rather, is this huge jump in GPU performance a sign that we're about to see a game console? Because at this stage, like, why wouldn't Apple do that? The biggest and best reason I can think of is they don't want to get into that industry, largely because it is an industry that has proven to be fairly toxic and complicated, and it would really put Apple sort of on the spot to make a game studio, which I'm not sure they want to do. Again, I think they'd be nuts not to, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, just saying, I really wouldn't be that surprised if we saw a game console announced somewhere in the next 2 years. But anyway, not important. Again, little sidetrack. If Apple makes a game console, they about to charge $3,000 for 6 gigs of RAM. Nah. No, if Apple makes a game console, I think they will do with that kind of like what they've done with iPads. They've kept them definitely at a premium pricing, but not abusively so. I want to compare them to, or I feel like looking at the Mac Mini, we're seeing what a game console looks like from Apple already. Maybe not literally what it looks like, but I think they would basically just repackage a Mac Mini minus a few things and call that a game console. And, you know, give it a different software experience. Give it like a UI that is really game console oriented. Direct it to serving a few specific purposes and optimize it so that it is really, really game mode oriented. And to me, I think that's what their console looks like. And like others, they'll probably go through licensing as a way to sort of subsidize the price. Next thing you know, you end up with a Mac Mini that's he once played. You end up with a game console that's probably still going to be expensive. I mean, I don't see them selling it for under, say, $500. But yeah, if they can pump out a Mac Mini with I imagine, I want to say an M3 is probably suitable. But stupid phone keeps cutting the keyboard away. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of weird keyboard behavior lately too. But I could see an M3 game console. I don't see why not. Arguably, they could maybe go to like an M3 Pro. I sooner think they'd be smart just to do sort of a custom build M3. Like an M3 that is maybe even a little more like an M3 processor with the GPU of more like somewhere between an M3 and an M3 Pro. And that gives you really, really good GPU. That gives you plenty of power to run, honestly, any game you're going to throw at it for quite a while. That would be a good landing point. You could make a ton off of that. Anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm just staring at this chart. I really have to get this off my chest, or at least get this comment out. This event was filled with so many really crappy charts. I mean, their charts are just so dumb. Oh, okay. It doesn't want to stick like that, but really, there we go. But the bottom axis shows power consumption in watts, which is great. That's actually a real number. It means something. The side axis is relative performance, and this is just what, percentage or something. It doesn't really mean anything. This chart is just a complete like garbage factory in terms of usable numbers. It doesn't base on anything. It doesn't convey anything of real substance. It's just a pretty chart. And it's funny how many of these Apple had. Let's see if I remember. I think it was this page. Yeah. The efficiency cores, they say that these are actually, this chart's probably one of the better ones, but it's just basically claiming that each family was 20 to or so many percentage points faster than the previous family. Let's see, their neural engine performance. Yeah, that didn't really mean a whole lot, because you don't even measure neural engine performance or no one's figured out a good way to really measure it, because it depends so much on how it's tuned, what it is designed to handle. And this doesn't really mean much. Not without some clear statement of what you're testing against. Regardless, yeah, their charts were kind of garbage, but hey, that's Apple. We know to expect this from their events. Let's see. So what I see is the M3 is weaker. Man, that'd be funny. But don't you know these are the most advanced chips Apple has ever made? Haha. But in all fairness, they actually are. They're impressive. They're fast. They're really good performers. Or at least that's what everything is pointing to so far. Anyway, I will say they're impressive. The thing is, and this is the point I've been making for a little bit. If you're still on an Intel Mac, I can understand at this stage, it's probably not a bad time to upgrade. Not to say that anybody should or has to, because hey, look, the Intel Macs, at least the relatively, like shortly before the transition, they were fine. But I will say, to give full props, once you've upgraded into the M series, they really are a lot faster. And very critically, I don't think anyone has a good argument for upgrading unless they absolutely need to have way more performance than what they'd be getting out of an M1 or M2. The base model M1, yeah, at this point, yeah, I mean, that was never a particularly good computer. But anything above that, honestly, even a 16 gig M1, probably fine for most purposes. Unless you really need like either high performance video editing, or you're trying to really squeeze out a lot more speed out of some heavy duty task. For the most part, no one should be feeling the need to upgrade. And that I think is one thing that is somehow been missed very recently. I mean, the the original M1 came out 3 years ago. It's been 3 years. That's it. Most people have said historically laptops, and we're talking laptops here, should last 5 years. We're not even to the point where the laptop is supposed to be kind of like replaced. And there are people out there who are going, oh my God, should I replace my M1 with an M3? No, you shouldn't. Why would you? Let's see, Brawl. Android 12 actually hates you using Android 10 Huawei, and it's a banger. Okay. Conclusion is Android 12 is trash, Android 10 better. That actually might be true. It's been a while since I've really compared them, but I'm not always a fan of each Android update. Let's see. Put a shame to Intel. Yeah, and Apple definitely did take its pot shots at Intel during the event. I don't think that was a bad or unreasonable thing, because but at one point they said that the M3 is 11 times faster than the last Intel MacBook or MacBook Pro. And what really jumped out at me about that is, sure, you're talking about a chip that came out 4 to 5 years ago. Of course, your latest new hotness is faster than the thing that came out 4 to 5 years ago. That's really not asking a lot. Even among Intel's chips, I think their latest chip is at least 3 times faster. And Intel doesn't make the same leaps. This is another thing that I think a lot of people have kind of been forgetting, is Apple's chips are still pretty new. They're still building out a lot of the things that can really really increase their speeds and performance. So it's expected that these changes are going to happen in large numbers right now. The M3 is supposedly on average, it's 40% faster than the M2. Well, no kidding. Of course it is. The M2 was a lot faster than the M1. I'm expecting for the next probably 3 years, we're going to keep seeing pretty big jumps from each generation. But at a certain point where Intel, their upgrades at a certain stage become, oh yeah, we got 10% gain this year. And they're proud of that. At a certain point, Apple will be hitting those same sorts of marks. They will be squeezing out every last inch that they can get from each of their processors. And the improvements are still going to be pretty minor. When that time comes, I think they're going to switch focus. They'll start talking more about the GPU, or they'll talk about new power saving features, or they'll find something else, or they just won't even talk about it. They'll just say, it's our new, M12 chip. It's faster. Moving on. They won't say more about it. They'll just say, oh yeah, we made a new chip. It's faster. All right, we're done. They don't need to always hype up the chip unless the chip is unless there's a big number that they can attach to it. They're not going to care about bragging about performance. Let's see. Brawl, 3 years since M1. Holy. Android 12 feels like the kid that was made when the protection broke. Oh, harsh. I mean, possibly true. Again, I don't really remember enough about the jump to 12 to say how bad or good it was. Okay, and I won't ask you about the Israel-Palestine situation. I have a feeling that one's probably rough. Nils, The Verge won an Emmy? Really? Huh. Is That's got to be on their page, right? No? The Verge Emmy. Is this like new? I don't see. I kind of figured something would come up here. Becca? Okay. Interesting, I think. Possibly. But hey Nils, how's it going? Let's see. Oh, they posted a YouTube video about it. Okay, actually that one's easy enough to pull up. YouTube The Verge. Wait, did they? I don't even see it here. Yeah, I don't see that at all. That's weird. Yeah, I don't even... Wait, is it? I don't see any mention of the word Emmy. Yeah, I don't see it. I'm in shorts, like, literally. This is... I mean, I can prove it easily enough. This is the shorts page. And I do not see anything recently that... It's the latest line that goes out to you. The first one. Oh. Why? How? How did she win? I reject that one. They're picking not a good one. Sorry. Becca, feel free to @ me. But yeah, it's funny because it was just a couple of weeks ago I was saying something about Becca was one of the reviewers that I find less compelling at The Verge. Because there's some weird, very wrong opinions that come from her, but it is what it is. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's weird it's not on the website. We're all not your country, not your problem. I won't say that that's the worst response, but I think it is more complicated. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see. She's sometimes a bit cringe with the whole buds thing. She's cringe with a lot of stuff. Oh, what was it? There was one of the reviews. Which review was it? It was something... I want to say it was one of her camera photography things. Pretty sure we talked about it in the photography channel. But yeah, there was something that she covered or something she reviewed, and I just remember coming away going, where, how did she come up with this? Why is she saying this? Yeah, the exact thing that I wrote is, I've seen enough of Becca's reviews that I'm comfortable saying that I really wish The Verge would find somebody else to do these. Carson said that her earbud reviews are better. I've only seen a couple of her earbud reviews, so I don't have lots to say on that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think I know she she's into photography. Uh, and it's not that she's a bad photographer per se, but I think a lot of the stuff she says gets it. She needs to do a little more research on it, which sounds kind of like the same thing that has been said about a few other people, who might be very, very big tech YouTubers. But it is what it is. Anyway, so, let's see. Brawl. See, what you need is a MacBook Pro with an M3 chip. And then the game porting toolkit will handle all that for you. Oh, Diablo, what are you doing sharing those links? Let's see. Okay, anyway, enough of that. But anyway, so with Apple's announcement, kind of slow, or I'll drift back on track. With Apple's announcement, one of the things that was kind of surprising is they also went with technically like some really fast announcements for a lot more products than I think they've announced in any past events, which again, this was a 30-minute event where they announced new processors and then casually were like, oh yeah, by the way, all the MacBook Pros have been updated, which includes killing off the last remaining MacBook Pro with a touch bar. I know a lot of people love to say it won't be missed, and I agree. I know a lot of people won't miss it. I think the idea was good. I've defended it in the past as a good idea that was poorly implemented. I still hold to that. But it's not that the idea was never bad. It was just never really realized well enough. I still hold that I think taking the whole trackpad, the giant trackpad that's like bigger than an iPhone, take that and turn that into a display. It doesn't have to be as high res. It doesn't have to run as much or as fast, but turn that into a display. And, let's be honest, that thing could be so useful for a lot of stuff. They can do a lot of cool things with it. Yeah, there's way more. And app developers could make great use of it. And you also wouldn't be getting rid of keys that people actually really care about, like the function row, which also hardly anyone uses as a function row. It's mostly just for the media keys, but whatever. Let's see. You wouldn't use it even if it was free on the laptop. I mean, technically it was just included, but at least it was touchscreen, right? The function row. Yeah, so the touch bar basically, yeah, it was a screen. It had it could refresh, it could update, it could be animated, it was full color. The thing about it was touch points, since it was such a narrow screen. I mean, it was very wide, but very short, or not very high, I guess would be the better way to say it. But because of that, the touch points were not measured in 3D space. They were only measured in 2D. So, or rather in a line. So, any touch input that you did, it was left and right only. Like there was no up and down dimension to that. So it was a pretty limited screen in terms of usefulness for just that reason alone. And a lot of people didn't like the fact that you could have accidental touches. I never did, not once. I don't understand how people were having accidental touches. Which also sounds like a really pervy thing to say. But yeah, it worked. I mean, it worked pretty well. It just wasn't it was hard for app developers to get good use out of it, and it was a complicated interface. Um but I I can't rightly think of a reason why it was bad in terms of like an idea. The idea was fine. But again, it's dead. I mean, you know, app developers should probably continue supporting it for a while, but yeah, I don't think anybody really needs to worry too much about it. Sadly, a lot of apps didn't really need to use it in the first place, and that was one of the things that went wrong about it. Part of the reason why I think doing something with the trackpad is better is because apps won't feel the need to do something with it unless they're actually going to do a lot with it. And I don't think a lot of apps should do very much with it. It's the sort of thing where I would want to see it for like pro apps, actual, you know, like video editing, or well, video, sound, anything like that. Imagine for a second if you could sort of split the trackpad, I don't want to say in half, but let's say take over just a side of it, and then you could have like touch dials, things like that, all right there, very much handy to access, and you could just own that little bit of the space for controls that you wouldn't be able to do on the keyboard or anywhere else. This alone would be a big improvement. Let's see, at least the touch bar could run Doom. Yeah, but no one did. I know somebody managed to get it working, but still. Let's see, Diablo. Yeah, they've done more and people use it or like it. Or they could have done more. Function Row's a win because I use it to play Counter-Strike Source on the laptop since my computer is toasted. Trackpad isn't the favorite, use mice. A lot of people prefer mice. Look, frankly, I think mice suck. Give me a trackball. But the trackpad, to its massive credit, supports gestures. Some people don't like gestures. I love them. I don't use them a ton, but I do use them fairly often. And yeah, gestures are freaking awesome. Anyone who's not a fan of gestures, you're missing out. So that being said, the only time I would want to use a mouse is for gaming. Give me a mouse for gaming. Otherwise, no interest. A mouse is worse for image editing applications. It is terrible for video editing, frankly. Nils, yeah, exactly. Trackpad is for video editing. A mouse is for gaming. When it comes to web browsing, I don't think it matters. Honestly, like a trackpad is great for web. Easily great for web. You don't need to do much in web browsing. Brawl, the Apple Magic Mouse on CS:GO. Nobody. I'm gonna go. Here's a take, and I don't think anyone disagrees with me. Nobody should get the Apple Magic Mouse. Not for any purpose at all, ever. Anything that you have to charge by turning it over and cannot use it is already a losing product. It's so dumb. But even if not, the only good thing that mouse has going for it is that you can do gestures on it, but that's really not it. Like, it's ergonomically messy and it doesn't work well. Lots of people have pointed out it's just hard to do very many gestures on the Magic Mouse. And so I don't think that's a win in any context. Plus, it's just not really designed to be as useful as other mice that just have a few buttons, a like a roller or wheel, anything like that. Sorry, but nobody should get a Magic Mouse. It's not a good product. You wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy. No, dude, come on. Wish it on your worst enemy. Like that is some vengeful crap right there, man. For the first 3 minutes, didn't know how to scroll. Yeah, that's a funny thing though. It's actually really easy. That's probably the only gesture I would say is actually good on a Magic Mouse. Or not good, but it's decent. Like, you can do it easily enough on a mouse. Most of the other gestures are not good on the Magic Mouse. Nils, Apple should do a full refresh on their Mac accessories. Alright, see, I was gonna wait to talk about the accessories, but no. We'll just do it now. What the hell were they thinking? Come on! Where's the USB-C? How did they not put USB-C accessory or peripherals out at this event? They did a 30-minute event and they could have easily been like, oh, one more thing. Yeah, we've done away with Lightning. The last products that were still using Lightning, they're done. It's over. We've moved on. And yeah, put out the Magic Trackpad, put out the keyboard, put out a Magic Mouse if you have to. While you're at it, put a freaking port on the front of the Magic Mouse instead of on the bottom. What were they thinking with that? Or I should say on the underside. Because I don't want to say bottom because it almost implies like the back side. But no, you literally have to turn the mouse upside down to charge it. Anyway, yeah, they should have done a full refresh of their products, or even just keep the same trackpad. Look, the Magic Trackpad, if you took this thing right here, take this, just change the port on it. That's all you have to do. I don't have any other needs on this thing. They're very minor details I would change, but I don't care. Take this, change the port, you have it, you have your product. You don't need to change this thing. The keyboard, there are a few things, little things that I think they definitely should do to improve the keyboard. So yeah, a product refresh would, or like a new version of it would be a good step up. But also, it's another one where, yeah, just change the port, you'd be okay. It's only really the Magic Mouse that needs to desperately, fanatically needs to have a redesign. It needs a redesign. It's too shallow. I mean, it's pretty, but it's not as useful as a regular mouse, and the charging is just dumb. Let's see. Sorry, quickly reading down. Turning over a mouse to charge and flip back the pancake to cook it. And the event was so useless anyway, they could have easily talked 10 minutes about accessories. Yeah, that's, yes, 100,000%. They could have kept it so... I mean, look, they announced technically a lot. The new chips, plus all new MacBooks, and all new iMacs. Now, granted, when it came to the iMacs, like, their announcement of the iMacs was pretty much, oh, hey, by the way, we refreshed the iMacs with the new chips. Moving on. We don't want to talk about them, because what for? Like, that really was all it was. They didn't spend any time really talking about the new iMacs at all. Which, okay, that's fine. Don't care. Though when you think about it, it is really funny because an iMac with an M3 Max, I think, is actually now more powerful than the M1 Studio Ultra. Or, sorry, the M1 Ultra in a Mac Studio. And actually might even be faster than... Well, it wouldn't be faster than an M2 Ultra, I don't think. But yeah, the M3 Max is actually going to be faster than one of their pro computers now. Um, let's see, the Magic Trackpad, new colors, something like that. Oh yeah, yeah. They already came out with black peripherals thanks to the iMac Pro, but yeah, they really should be funneling the new accessories out in both colors as quickly as they can. They're probably hoping the desk mat, the air power thing, can charge the accessories around the PC easier. I could see that, but I don't know. I really hope that's not what they're going to try to do, because I'm perfectly comfortable plugging a cable into my Magic Trackpad. You miss the Apple event because they start at 2 a.m. your time. I mean, you could go back and watch it at any time. I mean, it is a long infomercial. Actually, it's almost not. Infomercials from like the 2000s used to be like half-hour, 45-minute events. This is actually objectively on the short side for some infomercials. Let's see. Nils, iMac Pro with bigger display. The iMac Pro, is that even still a thing? I thought that was canned. Let's quickly pull up buyer's guide, because to me that is about as good of a yeah, it's not even in this list anymore. So yeah, the iMac Pro's dead. As it honestly, it really should be. That's okay. We're really not missing anything with the iMac Pro being gone. And yes, I popped up this screen on purpose. We'll talk about this shortly. Yeah, the thing that Apple's trying to do with AirPower, I get the impression that they'll eventually come out with that, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Hey Carson, how's it going? Gurman says an iMac Pro comeback is possible. I don't put it past them. There's really no reason not to have it, but also there's not a lot of good selling point for having it. Because really what you want to have, an iMac Pro is a great idea in a way, because I mean, all they're doing is just sticking the same chips into their desktops and laptops. So there's really nothing separating it. You're just putting the chip inside of a monitor instead of having a separate box. The thing is, you can just as easily get one of Apple's Pro displays, and you have a display that you don't need to replace or attach to the computer. Well, it's not like permanently affixed to your computer. So, you know, you could then just go get like a Mac Studio or something like that. Or even like a decked out Mac Mini. And yeah, you've got what you need. And I know that's not as aesthetically wonderful as an iMac Pro. I get the point of that, but yeah, it feels like if you're at the stage where you want to be doing an iMac Pro, you probably should just go with a decked out Mac Mini or a Mac Studio. Like, whatever it is, that's the thing you should probably be doing instead. That being said, strictly speaking, the exact same argument could be made for the iMac itself. Why would you have an iMac if you could have just as easily gotten a display and attached a Mac Mini to it? So, I don't know. I'm just not seeing much of a purpose for the iMac Pro anymore. It served a very specific purpose when it came out, and I don't see what that purpose is anymore. And at the time, it was very much just, this was a way for Apple to do displays that could handle the band. Or when it came out, it was basically a way to put out a display with a higher resolution and higher refresh rate than the other displays that were out there. And they didn't have to solve the connectivity issue, because at the time they didn't have a fast enough connection that they could plug a computer into the display with a single cable. And so it made a lot of sense to put out a product where you had all the power to drive this display, but you didn't have to try to drive it over a cable. So they solved that problem. Or rather, that problem's now been solved. So it really doesn't make sense to have an iMac Pro now. At least not until they start pushing for even higher pixel counts. Let's see. Anyway, so what else did they do? Oh, they announced. Do I have it anywhere? Okay, yeah, they announced there's the iMac, which, yeah, there's really just nothing exciting about that announcement. That was the GPU stuff. They made a big mention about faster ray tracing, which outside of that, they didn't really talk a whole lot about. Oh, the dynamic caching was kind of interesting. Okay, let's see. They talked about the new space, or the new space black. This is not space gray, it's space black, except when you actually look at it, it is definitely not black. It is just, they took space gray and like turned the luminance down like half. So it's definitely darker. It is very clearly darker, but it's not black. I don't mind that. I think it looks great, but it's not black. So, you know, it's nice. Yay for them. I just think it's hilarious that they're doing that. And with that said, I don't deny I would kind of like to have had that option at least. I don't know that I necessarily would have gone with it, because I kind of actually do dig where Space Gray was. But I don't know. I would consider it. They announced USB-C Magic accessories. What are you talking about, Carson? Oh, in another universe. Sorry, I missed that. Let's see. Midnight Blue is darker than Space Black. And see, it now, even the mention of color, I think it bears saying, and a lot of people keep bringing this up, where the hell are the colors for MacBook Pros? It's always some shade of gray. They're never colors. And I'm curious. I too am curious about that. It's not that I really care enough that I would choose or upgrade because of colors. I don't know that I would even get a different color if I was buying one. But I gotta say, where the hell are the colors? It is weird that we haven't seen any MacBook Pros ever with color. Yeah, Nils, exactly. That's the story, or that's the line everyone throws around, but people want colors. Especially, like, you can't advertise the MacBook Pro as being, quote, like, for creators, and then argue, oh, but it's only for business, we can't have colors on it. Look, I'm going to predict right now. This is prediction. Somewhere in the future, I think confidently I can say this, Apple will eventually give in. And when they do, when they put out a MacBook Pro with colors, especially if it's bright colors, I'm telling you right now, prediction, iJustine is going to dedicate an entire row of videos on her YouTube channel just to MacBook Pros in color. Right there, prediction. And they will sell like gangbusters. Anyone who knows who iJustine is, you know what I'm talking about. She would be obsessed with this, and she will talk it up to no end. And you know what? Nils, yeah. Honestly, I'd be surprised if she doesn't have a pink MacBook Pro. But yeah, that's a separate issue. And MKBHD. Anyone here gonna tell me that he would not be all about red? A red MacBook Pro? If they come out with a cherry red MacBook Pro, or product red, you know he's going to outfit his entire office with them. If who else? I mean, any of the influencer crowd that focuses heavily on tech, they would jump on this. They will be all about the colors. That's all anyone will talk about for a week, because they will all be so happy to have them, and their audiences will jump on them too. Look, I don't really care that much about the colors, but they do. And there are a lot of people who do care about them. And if you're talking about the creator groups, look, I'm sure Peter McKinnon will jump on something if it comes out. Actually, I don't know. I think he uses a MacBook Pro. I'm not actually sure. You could go down a long list of all the YouTubers who are MacBook users. It's a lot of them now. Macs have really taken over the YouTube space. They will all be jumping on the colors. That is a promise. It's not a theory, it's a promise. Half of them have even said they want colors. So I think we're getting to the point that it's no longer an argument that anyone can attach to business. You never wanted a Mac because you never wanted a Mac because hate Mac OS, but they're so good for video. They're so good for video Efton. I like that. But no, they are. That's the thing. They're really, really solid choices for video editing. I don't understand I mean, I do get it. Not liking Mac OS, it's understandable. It takes some time. And if you're using Windows and Mac side by side, like if you're using Windows as your main, and then you try to use Mac on the side, it is harder to adapt to it. Believe me, I know. I did it for a while. But there came a point. It was probably, I don't know, 3 years or so into working at AP, maybe 4. At a certain point, I was doing so much. The only thing I wanted to do on my Windows machine was literally write for AP. Everything else I was doing on the Mac, and it's like, okay, no, this is terrible. I'd rather just use the Mac. And doing work on the Mac was so much easier and more fluid. But it took time for me to actually get used to that workflow. But once I did, I just kept finding more and more things that were better to do there. And yeah, it takes time, but you get there. And I always see people who are trying to sort of replicate their Windows experience on a Mac. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, you can do that. There's certain things that you can and should do, like go ahead, use a window manager. But there are a lot of other things that it's kind of better to try to match the paradigm that they give you, rather than try to beat it with like utility apps. But anyway, so there were a few other casual mentions of small things that they presumably did to the MacBook Pros, but nothing really significant. And I'm not sure if anything actually changed, or if they were just kind of talking up how good they had made the MacBook Pros in general. Because like they talked about the displays, but didn't actually make any change to the displays with the M3 MacBook Pros. So I don't think that there's really that much to say. Um, let oh, and unless I'm mistaken, actually, you know what? Really quick, I am gonna check this because I am pretty sure they only updated the MacBook Pros, not the MacBook Airs. But I feel like I should. Yeah, the MacBook Airs are still on the M2, so I'm guessing there's going to be a new Mac event probably February. I suppose it could come next month, but I think it'll be February. They'll probably be announcing the MacBook Airs with the M3. So speaking of timing, also, this reminds me of another issue that a lot of next launch in March. Okay, February, March, close enough. I also really want to address one of the narratives that has been popping up, and it has everything to do with timing. A lot of people said Apple rushed this event. And look, from watching the event, I would agree. The event did feel rushed. It did feel put together lazily. It did feel like they were putting something out that they weren't ready to announce. But there's a problem with that. There's one reason why I look at that and I say, nope, no, that is not at all what happened. Because they're shipping these things in a week. I'll tell you. I mean, we all know this, and I've heard it directly from people who really have inside knowledge on this. Apple cannot spin up production on their entire MacBook Pro line and their entire iMac line in 3 weeks. That is not a thing that they can do. Not with all new chips. There's nothing about this announcement that just happened overnight. They did not. I mean, the announcement, the actual presentation itself felt thrown together very, very poorly. But I think there's another explanation for that. Get to it in a second. The thing that gets me is, or rather, the issue is, there's no way that they just decided, oh no, Qualcomm announced a chip that they say is faster than ours. We'll spin up production of all of this stuff, throw all the boards together, get everything done, and we'll ship this thing in 3 weeks. That didn't happen. Nils, yeah, the launch was rushed, but not the product. I'm not saying that they necessarily wouldn't have maybe waited a little bit longer. Maybe if they were thinking, maybe they were planning to be a little more strategic about this and might have been pre-manufacturing hardware or already had everything lined up and were like, you know what? Yeah, we'll push it a month early, or we'll push it a few weeks early, whatever. Maybe they were thinking about doing a January event, and then this opportunity came up and it's like, hey, we can stop Qualcomm in its tracks. This is a possibility, but not a good one. That's the thing. They had all this stuff ready. It's not that quick or easy to just start fabbing chips. So they've been doing this. These chips were ready to push. Why was the announcement so rushed? Who knows? And part of me wonders, was it rushed? And I'll hit that in a second too, but I can't shake the feeling that their ability to launch these this quickly doesn't just happen. No one, they can't do it with phones. Why would they be able to do it with multiple lines of computers? So, you know, granted, the computers didn't come with a bunch of new features. They didn't upgrade the hardware outside of the chips in any significant ways. And yeah, that doesn't make them look that special. But at the same time, there's another explanation for this that also tracks. It's very possible that they just basically sat there and said, you know what? All we're really announcing is new chips. We don't have anything new that we're going to do for the displays. We don't have anything new we're going to do for the keyboard, the trackpad, the airflow. All of these things are good. We'll wait until we have something else to announce. Maybe we'll wait until there's, you know, the M4, when we're just not even going to have a big jump in performance, possibly. Let's say hypothetically they're not planning for the M4 to be a big jump. If all they're doing right now is announcing, hey, we've got all the products that you already like, we haven't really changed them except we put a much faster chip in them. Okay. Yeah, that's a sales pitch. That's a solid sales pitch. Here's the thing. How do you do that in a presentation? For Apple, a company that has historically avoided talking about performance, how do they suddenly do a presentation that is almost entirely focused on, oh yeah, it's faster? This is kind of what you get with that. Like a half-hour show where all they do is talk about the new chips. Yeah, that makes sense. Why would the whole event be this huge grand show to talk about performance? Apple's never done that before. None of their people are particularly good at talking about performance stuff. It makes sense. It actually does make sense for them to have that's why they could have done a press release and that's it. Yeah, they could have. This could have been a memo. This could have been a blog post or 3, as it were. I mean, it very literally is in the Apple newsroom site. Yeah, it's 3 posts. Arguably 4 if you want to count the one for the event. But yeah, they've got the one talking about the M3 chips. They have one talking about the iMac with the M3. They have the MacBook Pro. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Those are the chips. There's the MacBook Pro. I showed the wrong thing in the wrong order, but yeah, that's the point. Earlier, the previous one was about the watch, and their more recent ones, there's the one that's the behind-the-scenes video that many of us have seen now, and then one about games. They did 3 blog posts, and honestly, 2 of them are basically just rehashing what the main one about the chips says. So that's it. This was an easy thing for them to cover. So Diablo, see, that's another part of this, and I think that's a big explanation for what really happened. They wanted to show that the iPhones can be good for filming, which is something I think most people already knew, but they really wanted to hype that up. And let's see, that brings us to, well, kind of that shot, but this Verge article. This is the part where I just wish this was like vodka or something. That Verge article. It is basically a call out post saying, oh yeah, all the things that Apple supposedly did by filming this just on an iPhone, kind of not true, because they used a fortune in equipment. And it's true, they did. I mean, there was a ton. Oh wait, actually I can't play that video for risk of who knows how many Apple lawyers deciding to send C&D takedowns. Anyway, yeah, Apple used a ton of expensive lighting. You know, these are those LED arrays, the LED panels that are like the size of a small table. They're expensive. They're really expensive. And they did a ton. I could replace it with vodka. Some people do that for work. I don't have vodka money. Who are you kidding? But yeah, they had a dolly rig that I've seen. That I don't know the exact model of that dolly rig, but I've seen it before in other productions. That's a pretty pricey dolly rig that they had running around. The drone that they flew over Apple Park, that drone is I don't remember which that is either, but that is a, I I think it's about a $4,500 drone. Um, and that's actually one of the cheaper things that they actually had in this set. Um, they use some expensive mics, and actually those are probably the actual cheapest things. But the key thing here is the lighting. They had lots of really, really expensive lighting. So of course, like, is it the same as shooting a daytime shot? No. But it's not that far from it. And if you can lock off the exposure on your iPhone, if you can lock off the frame rate, um, and the shutter speed, you can control the rest with lighting. So it really is not as impressive to have done a night shoot as they're making it out to be. They, it is true, and that is fair. That's an objectively accurate thing to criticize. The counter to this, ironically, is Apple is basically hyping this up. I mean, again, like, they put it in their newsroom and hyped up the fact that they used an iPhone to shoot the whole thing. The problem with that is, oh yeah, here we go. Nobody can afford this stuff. So yeah, I mean, look at that. That rig is ridiculous. Yeah, the iPhone is the cheapest component that they used. This is is that an easy rig he's wearing? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that is a reasonably pricey gimbal that this guy is holding onto. And it is on a contraption that is literally wired into a belt that he wears around both the waist and his chest. This is a full body rig that guy is wearing, the cameraman there. And it is holding up the gimbal that he is directing with his hands. I don't know how much it costs. I've looked at it before. It's been a long time though. But that's a few $1,000s. These are not cheap pieces of gear. And they have this inside of, actually, I'm not sure what the cage is. That's not a beast grip. I don't know what cage that is. That could be a custom cage. The cage, by the way, is that metal thing that is surrounding the phone. It's not even touching the phone really. But it's got the clamp inside of it. The cage, what it does, let's see, smartphone camera cage. We'll just pull up a slightly better image of it. Oh yeah, it could be a small rig. Yep, it's almost guaranteed small rig. So yeah, which it's funny because that's actually pretty cheap. But the purpose of the small rig cage, or any camera cage, let's see, do we have, I guess these are the best pictures. You see all those slots at the top, and if you look to the side, there's some screw holes. These are all mounting points for accessories. They have some on the bottom in this particular model. These are places where you can attach accessories like microphones, lights, hard drives for storage, batteries to keep the phone running, anything like that. This is almost certainly the small rig cage. And it's funny because they're not actually using anything. They're not using the cage for anything in this instance. They're literally just attaching it at a single point and using the clamp. So strictly speaking, it's not doing anything here. It's funny because in the past, they have used a Beast Grip Pro. The neat thing about a Beast Grip is it actually supports, I hate sight sometimes. But B scripts actually support putting other lenses, like modifier lenses, in front of the phone. I can understand why they wouldn't use it here, because they really want to focus on the iPhone lenses. But, you know, to be fair, this is a way to get even better performance out of your iPhone's footage, or any phone. They have specific iPhone cases, but they also have a B-Script Pro, which is just for any phone. Anyway, even the storage that they would have been attaching to this iPhone was expensive, because I'm sure they're using SSDs that are probably not cheap. The funny thing about all of this is, for as much as the hardware was expensive, and I do maintain, I think Apple kind of was shooting themselves in the foot with this narrative. They basically said, hey, look at how impressive it is that we just shot this on just an iPhone. Well, a lot of people came away saying, oh, wow, that's impressive. But everybody who came away saying that is now saying, oh, yeah, great, but they have all these lights and lots of expensive gear. Why should we take that seriously? Well, here's the thing. Apple still did actually do a good job with this. The iPhone is actually a pretty good camera to an extent. And shocking, yeah, this works. Like, it actually, there are reasons why their camera was the best one to shoot among the phones out there. They did shoot this in Apple ProRes. They shot it with the Apple Log color profile. There's a lot of things here that actually make sense. This is actually a good video camera to an extent. Now, it's worth quickly calling out, to an extent is a key word here, because it's not the best camera. It's not as good as it could be. During that behind the scenes video, and I called this out in the photography room, one of the editors, or I guess it was the head editor, she said that this footage is just like using footage from an Arri Alexa or a Sony Venice camera. I'm adding technically a couple words there, mostly because I think she just said an Alexa or a Venice. But yeah, no, this is nothing like that. I know people who've already used this footage and have used the highest in footage that you can get out of an iPhone right now. No, it's nothing like those. Arri Alexas, if you go looking into what an Alexa is capable of, it blows us out of the water. Same with a Sony Venice. They are leagues better than this camera still. So Apple's people are kind of blowing smoke with this in a big way. But it does have which pro camera. Oh yeah, that's actually a solid point too, because yeah, this is definitely not Apple's camera app. I don't know what app this is off the top of my head. It's not Filmic Pro either, I don't believe. Let's see. What's Filmic's app look like now? Yeah, that's not Filmic Pro. Definitely not. I'm not sure what app that is. Oh, yeah, it could be Blackmagic's app. That would be really funny. Yep, that is Blackmagic's app. 100%. Here are their screenshots from the store, which, yeah, sorry they're zoomed away, or they're terrible looking, but that's what you get when you load it up from the web. But yeah, that's the same icon layout and everything. Did they? Oh, yeah, they even said it down here. Blackmagic Camera, an iOS exclusive app, adds digital film camera controls to iPhone and supports Apple Log encoding on iPhone 15 Pro Max. God, look at that dolly rig. It's nuts. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, I'll give it to him. The footage comes out looking really good. Uh it's not perfect. I will say when I was watching the presentation, I didn't say anything. I didn't think it was a big enough deal, but it didn't look the same as Apple's previous events. Part of that I figured was because it was shot at night. Part of it I figured it did look rushed. Anyone who watched the event and Brawl, I'm sure I'm saying this I know you didn't watch it, but I'll tell you now. There were some weird spots where it was just like the camera was way too far back, and what they were shooting was like center frame surrounded by what may as well have just been giant black bezels. It was really weird. It was awkward. There were problems with that presentation in that sense. Sorry, I'm just quickly closing a couple of tabs that I don't need open. And there were shots like this where this looks, I know that there's some like fog and clouds, and that's the reason for some of that haze, but as drone shots go, I'm seeing signs that this drone really struggled, or sorry, not the drone, but the phone struggled to get anything resembling a good image. Like, that car should be like sharper. It should be a lot sharper. And it would be if it wasn't struggling. It definitely struggled on this. I'm willing to bet they probably did a lot to fix this image in post. It's not actually that good of an image. It looks nice if you're zoomed out, but when you start looking closer, it's pretty mediocre. And there's a lot of images that came out of the shots that they look good if you're not too picky about it, and no one should be too picky about it. It's a product announcement video. It's fine. They don't have to make it look pristine and flawless, even though that seems to be Apple's thing lately. But all things considered, it's like, again, Apple did a great job with this. The phone did a great job, but they're inviting a lot of trouble when too many people are thinking, oh, that is super impressive, and then a day or two later, they're always going to keep getting those articles that say, oh yeah, you think that this is good, but it's not really that good because guess what? They used really expensive equipment. So yeah, this is a perpetually bad look for Apple. One of these days, and I know that this is a ridiculous thing to say, but it's kind of true. One of these days, they need to do a fully shot on iPhone. It could be an event. It could be just a presentation. It could be any number of things. But they need to do something shot on iPhone where it is just the iPhone. No extra lighting. Maybe not even daytime lighting. And when I say no extra lighting, I mean some. It's fine. You can light a room or whatever, but big pro lights, not helping you. Because you're going to end up with a bunch of people, even like me, who are saying, this is just like shooting in daylight. And if it's just like shooting in daylight, what are you really bragging about? Also, just to quickly call this out too, anyone who watched that presentation, like half of it is renders and video that definitely was not quote unquote shot on an iPhone. There's a whole lot of video that was not shot on an iPhone. There were other clips that were not shot on iPhone. It was a little misleading to say that. But anyway, so enough about that aspect of it. Let's see, covered those. I will say, I thought that their choice to do the drone shot was interesting. I get that they had to do that, and it makes sense to do that, but man, that was interesting. I'd love to know how much their editors work to clean up that footage. Let's see. So, was there... I don't think there was anything else to really say about the Apple video. Or about the Apple presentation. As far as the footage thing, I have a thing I very much want to do very soon that'll be related to that. But yeah, the rest of the Apple event, I can't think of anything else to say. Honestly, like, I've gone on for far longer than Apple did, and I covered just about as much of it too. Anyway, so let's see. Okay. Diablo linked to this. Google Messages account-based device pairing finally ditches QR codes. Honestly, why? Let's see. God, now that we've got this whole push to... I know that this is inside baseball, but AP has a new dictate that articles need to be of a minimum length that is much longer than it used to be, and as a result, writers are churning out articles that are very, very puffy in their wording. Anyway, let's see. So the summary: Messages on the web now allows users to sign into their Google account instead of scanning QR codes, making it easier. Okay. Account-based pairing system eliminates need to constantly switch. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Good change. Really weird that they didn't make it years ago. It always bugged me because I would use messages on the web, not all the time, just like once every, usually like every couple, well, I don't know, at least a couple weeks in between each usage. Sometimes a lot more, often a lot more. And so I'd have to pair with the QR code every time. And frankly, that was kind of dumb. It should have remembered it. It had the option to remember it, and it just didn't last very long. So yeah, this always drove me kind of crazy. I'm glad they've finally caught on to why that doesn't work. The one and only obvious catch is, actually, I don't know if this is true. Let's quickly try checking it. You guys won't get to watch as I do this, but let's see if I can just quickly hop in here and come on, connect. Oh, it's only for beta users? Well, that's good because it's not working at all. Okay. Kind of maybe got it here. Device pairing. Okay. My question is, can you attach to multiple phones? No sign of that being a thing yet. That is the one catch to any system like this. Because I have two phones, both signed in on my account, both capable of receiving text messages. They've got different numbers, whole 9 yards. Why, like, you need to be able to switch accounts or connect to multiple phones rather. So hopefully they account for that somehow. Not on different web browsers, but on tablets, yes. Yikes. That's not great. Let's see. Diablo, you also linked to shopping list notes are moving to Google Keep. Wait, wasn't that already? Didn't that happen like a year ago? Shopping lists and assistant notes and lists are now saved in Google Keep. Your notes. I swear this is old. I swear this happened. Any data that can't be moved will be available for download through Takeout until 2024, May 1st, 2024. Oh, are they? Did they never actually do this? Maybe it was announced and they didn't get around to it or something. But yeah, I swear that already happened. Or again, maybe they announced it and I just missed it. MetNet 3, a state-of-the-art neural weather model available in Google products. Oh, this is a lot. Okay, I don't think I can read through all of this right now, but we'll jump to the TLDR of this. MetNet 3 is a new deep learning model for weather forecasting that performs state-of-the-art physics-based models for 24-hour forecasts of a core set of weather variables. It has the potential to create new possibilities for weather forecasting and to improve safety and efficiency of many activities such as transportation, agriculture, and energy production. MetNet 3 is operational and its forecasts are served across several Google products where weather is relevant. I'm very curious, have they been using this already or for how long? Because it's funny as this comes up often enough. Various conversations have taken place kind of raising the issue that the weather forecasts are never really that right for where I'm at. Not to say that they're off by enough to matter, but they're always off. And the assertion that I've heard several times is that it's off by it's off more from Google than it is from other sources. Whether or not that's true, I don't know for sure, but it seems like it could be. I am curious. I mean, nice graphs, I'll give him that. Or animations. But it would probably, it would take a little too long for me to go digging through details on this. Or rather, I would just be reading an article rather than really saying much about it. But it's interesting they're doing this. I mean, it's Google, so logically they'll get a lot of benefit out of this one way or the other. I know that this is a little reductive, but as I always like to point out, one of Google's best advantages in many cases is just being able to say, oh, we recognize that you're in a particular place. Here's things that are relevant to that place. Their ability to be targeted in various ways, not just on the interests you have, but their ability to say, oh, you are in a geographical location, or there's a very hyper local event happening right next to you. Maybe we can serve ads based on that. I mean, their ability to predict weather will factor in very well on their ability to say, oh, we want to advertise a movie, or we want to advertise raincoats or umbrellas. I don't know, whatever, anything to that effect. Like, it kind of makes sense for them to track weather very closely. And it has obviously like user value too. Which obviously keeps people interested. Let's see. Oh, I see Nils posted that Bobby Knight died. If it's not from a heart attack, I'd be shocked. Guy had a famous temper. But let's see. It makes Android look cooler or warmer depending on the day. Haha. yeah, anyway. Uh okay, I know that this is technically kind of on the short side, but yeah, this is about as far as I got with prepared topics, including the unprepared topics. So kind of like the Apple event, I think I'll go a little bit on the short side here. Um, Before I go, I will quickly bring up: would anyone watch, would anyone go back to watching Marvel movies on the basis of bring back Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson? I'm just saying, like, if it looks like the movie's part of their current run of things, look, I'm gonna watch the current stuff. I'm kind of taking that long break. I still haven't watched the latest Black Panther. I skipped a couple of their, or not skipped, but I'm just taking a pause on a lot of their movies. Like Thor: Love and Thunder was not good. A few of their others were pretty iffy. Just saying, if it looks like it's the same kind of thing, I don't know that I would give it a big watch. Not until there's signs. Loki's good. Yeah, I keep hearing that. Loki is the one thing everyone keeps saying is like the good watch out of all of Marvel stuff. And look, I'm expecting the Marvels will probably actually be decent. You know, getting Brie Larson back for a legitimate movie, doing something that seems a little bit more back into sort of the like the, I guess, the bigger event sort of movie. That's good. But at the same time, the characters just don't feel great. The storylines haven't been good. They really lost a lot of audience, I think, in the last like 2 years. Actually 3 years. Basically ever since well, everyone says after Endgame. I would say it was the moment that Black Widow hit. Like, that was the point where you could just tell. It's been really downhill since then. Shang-Chi was not good. I know some people like it. I'm not like hating on anyone for liking it. Just it was definitely not up to the same standards that they were maintaining a few years earlier. I know a lot of people like the last Spider-Man, No Way Home, and it did great with the whole fan service aspect, but just realized I should switch views. Did great with the fan service aspect, but I just, yeah, not it just didn't feel as good. And besides, they actually have to end that now, like give it a comeback. They really need to finally get the fight to Kang quick. Yeah, the issues, there are obviously like some interesting issues to tackle with Kang too. So yeah, I don't know. They've just lost that thread, and I hate saying this because I know that there were supposed to be some really great things happening with Scarlet Witch, but they either need to do something with Scarlet Witch or just get it over with, because she is not really holding up anymore. As a character, she's just really become this rock dragging down the whole thing, and they need to get it worked out. And I say that about the character, not about the actress. You know, Elizabeth Olsen's done perfectly good. Just the character's a drag. She's literally one of the least enjoyable characters now. Not even relatable as a character. You have trouble sympathizing with her, even as like the villain who's, well, to use Diablo's word, unhinged. Yeah, she's not a character anyone wants to see, I think. Not in her current state. But yeah, anyway, so I don't know. Just figured I'd bring it up since it was sort of a vague topic of the day. All right. Well, with that, a couple of things. Upcoming stuff. I know I've said this. I find myself saying this often, but I originally had talked about doing a photo edit stream on Tuesday. Well, Monday or Tuesday, more likely Tuesday. Some stuff came up. That wasn't an option. I hadn't even said anything about it, but I was going to aim for doing it tomorrow instead. There is now possibly a chore that will become a unavoidable must do tomorrow thing. We'll see. I hope it doesn't. If it doesn't, I will be doing a photo edit stream. If it does become non-optional, well, you know how it goes. It would have been better if she was destroying mutants. Actually, yeah, that would have been better. Anyway, so hopefully I'll be doing a photo edit stream, and if I am, I will be editing some photos of some headphones, a drone, possibly a couple of other things. Let's see. And I will be doing it on also some more review units, some tablets that I am testing out. If that doesn't happen, I don't know, maybe I'll do it this weekend or something. I don't know when I'll get to do it. It sort of sucks to say that, but yeah, I just don't know. Let's see what else. As usual, this weekend should be some gaming. No real change there. Next week, RambleCast, as usual. I don't think there's any other abnormalities scheduled. It's just going to be an extra stream or two in the next couple of weeks. All photo streams, or, well, extra photo streams. So, anyway, with that, I'd like to send out a huge thanks. Wow. Let me try that again after a sip of water. Talking for 2 hours straight will kick your voice sometimes. With that, I'd like to send out a huge thanks to supporters of the channel: Diablo, Carson, Austin, David. Y'all awesome. Curvy. Sorry, Patreon versus tippers. I for some reason I still separate the two when I'm saying anything. But huge thanks to everybody who helps support the channel. You guys are awesome. And one of these days, especially, like, I know I say this too often, but I think somewhere in December I'm going to try to take a couple of days and really figure out something else I can do for supporters. Anyway, so let's see. And for those who are listening to this now or later, if you're curious how to support, how to help out this channel, how to keep it going, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. Anything is welcome. Or if, of course, you feel really generous, there's an Amazon wish list that you can always kick out to. I'm not expecting that. But if anyone should happen to stumble and be like, oh, hey, here's this A7 IV, we'll buy that for him, I wouldn't complain. Anyway, I kid. But with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, keeping that chat room busy, because, man, that really does help. Being able to see what you're thinking, being able to see comments as I'm going, it really does actually add a lot. So I hope you all have an excellent rest of the week. I will be seeing some of you in the next, well, possibly tomorrow, if not this weekend, or if not that, next week. You know the routine. It's gonna be somewhere soon, hopefully, and I'll see you all in Discord. But as usual, I hope you all have an excellent rest of the week, and good night, everybody.